So, in today's world, it's bizarre when a person can enjoy nothing. In today's world, it's bizarre if a human being can be happy with the land around him, with the things around him, with the trees and the beings and the animals around him. In today's world, it seems like we have to search for something greater. It seems that we have to search for something monetary, something material. For instance, if you don't have a conventional house, people that are in conventions will look at you and say, why don't you have a conventional house? Why don't you have a conventional marriage? Why don't you eat conventional food? Why are you not conventional? And we have to be really careful with this because, in order to, completely revolve oneself, and in revolving oneself, uh, and evolving, of course, and constantly re-evolving oneself, uh, the world will follow. So you technically can't even say that you're revolving yourself, right? As the world is evolving, you evolve with it. But to me, it seems like there's this ego trap, if you will, where we're always complaining. And, complaining, like, for instance, there's a difference between pointing out a problem and complaining about it. Complaining crosses over a boundary where it's kind of useless. When you observe a problem and you execute actions, then it's a very necessary form of complaining. But there's a form of complaining, and there's a form of nagging that's very, destructive, because it demands a reality that is an idea of happiness, an idea of joy that is not. That once achieved, for instance, going out and getting a job and getting more money, or getting another car, or getting another house. We think that once we do get this thing, or achieve this thing, or receive this thing, that then later I will be happy. Now, I'm not saying don't have a house. I'm not saying don't have a car or don't have a means of transport. And I'm not saying don't enjoy material things, because we have to draw a distinction here that enjoying material things is okay. But there comes a point where you just start complaining over and over because this material things, you're caught up in this search of endless accumulation of possessions, and more so than possessions, really ideological possessions, right? You're constantly searching for some ideological enlightenment and achievement, and this very search for enlightenment and achievement is what damns you, right? Because who is this being that is searching? If you were to look very deeply, there is no being, aka there is no search, or there is just a seeing. And so if there's a seeing to reach enlightenment, there is no seeing. It's like you're listening to get a reward from the teacher rather than listening itself. So in this world of, it seems like we're forced to listen for the reward, right? It seems like the world revolves around rewards and, of course, the avoidance of punishment. So in a world that is so geared and mechanized towards reward systems, and then the first thing that comes to mind is money, right? We have to question, why was money made? Who made the money? And for me, immediately Phoenicians come to mind. And then we go to bankers. We go to the people that were overthrowing countries economically. and enslaving the populace with basically speculatory money or fake value, basically thinking about things that don't exist. This is what crypto has become. This is what the pursuit of America, the pursuit of happiness has become. And I was listening to an old video, and someone was pointing out how it seems like this North America fast-pacedness is just a very high-stress environment. And I think, again, that comes from, if you're not a super consumer, right? If you're not a totally engulfed by this consumerism, that you are somehow behind, or you are somehow slower than everyone else. But it's almost like flies. They may move around very quickly and seem to be very fast, but they also die fast. So why would you want to live the existence of a fly? No shade on flies. We need the flies. I'm just saying, it's like, why do we want to live like rats, all cornered up into these concrete spaces? And for instance, I'm gonna go see Stephen D. Kelly, and just going to see him is such a hassle because of all this rent. We have to find someone that we can stay with in a concrete cube to pay rent. So anywhere we go, we can disassemble and disintegrate this unbelievably impractical system. I have seaweed stuck in my teeth. But like rent, for instance, if everyone had a hectare of land of their own, would there be rent slaves? Would we be living paycheck to paycheck? Because that's what most people are, right? They're governed by fear, therefore they have to live paycheck to paycheck because we're so caught up on this money. And then constantly with people like Andrew Tate, like there are some things to Andrew Tate that are very commendable and respectable. And there's a masculine element to him that is missing. But it's, again, a half-truth, because this other world that he's chasing of money, of getting on top of others, success, sucking, sassing, the cesspool, constantly gain. And then what? Are you happy behind all that? Is convenience happiness? I've seen kids that have nothing, that are dirt poor, playing in pollution, that are happy in Philippines. So it's obviously not a material thing. Not that, again, we're not going to bash the material, because I want a beautiful world. So it'd be better if those kids were playing without pollution, without consumerism. It goes full circle, without this endless chase of pursuit of happiness, quick, instant fame, instant richness. Don't plant the fruit tree, just buy things in plastic. Ignore the ingredient labels, because why look at the ingredient labels? That would just add more work to me. Instead of seeing the ingredient label as a necessity to be read, because it's coming into my temple. So if it's coming in between my temples, right, into my, gift from God, my avatar, why would I take part in it if it's poison? It's just that simple. It's one thing if it's on a gray line of poison, like, for instance, quinoa or grains or cooking, for that matter, and you're still using whole foods. Beyond that, it's like, why even go towards poison at all? There's no point. So these people that are constantly destroying themselves and living in a system where they think that destroying themselves and really strengthening the ego, okay, not that the ego does not have a purpose, the ego is a tool, right? So we need to be using it in the right ways, in the means. It's, again, the ego is just like a medium. But we live in a world where we chase ego. We need many cars. We need many houses. We need to be lavish in our spending. We need to flaunt. We can't just be happy with some fruits, some shelter, and some loving friends, and some love. Because that's the antithesis to exaggerated ego, is love. So, it brings us to the question, what is the answer to disembody this way of living that we've amassed and accumulated amongst these masses? What is a way that we clearly outline or clearly identify the problem? Like, how do we clearly identify this problem that when we look into society, we see an unfair speculatory inflation-based system, we see rent slaves, we see wage slaves, we see no land for ourselves, constantly being charged and discharged like a battery, right? So they fill us up with crap and then they drain us after filling us up with the crap, and then it's just a repeat cycle. Because if you filled yourself up with things that were healthy and things that were full of the energy and the electricity of the Mother Earth and the magnetism that exists in this world, you wouldn't really want to take the trash, nor would you want to be parasited off of. So, for instance, me, I have to check this guy out, Stephen D. Kelly. I have to go check out California for myself, Californication, right? LA, Los Angeles, the Lost Angels, right? Where it's earthquaking now. After I said I was going to go there, suddenly just magically it starts earthquaking, like a week later. Anyway, I have to go there and see for myself what can be done. And it seems that, like Trump was saying in the beginning, we need a level playing field. So where are you, Trump? Level the playing field. Let's go underground. Why won't Elon Musk? Why won't Trump? Why won't Andrew Tate? Why won't Joe Rogan? Why won't anyone talk about the Getty Museum? Why won't anyone talk about going underground into the bunker systems, into the insurance policy of the elites? Without the insurance policy of these underground bunker systems that they can just run into after causing World War III on the surface of the earth, right? Without going to the root of the problem, the puppet circus will keep on continuing. So the only thing I see left as an avatar is exposing this corruption and at the same time growing our own world. How do you say, cultivating for ourselves and our family, spending the necessary time. And sometimes, yes, it's not as important as you have to eat perfect. It's more important that you're grateful for what you have and at the same time for those around you. But again, you can't just completely ignore common sense. And it seems that common sense is the only way out of this mess. And common sense is the return of, or the awakening of, the return of enlightenment. And common sense dictates we get based more back on the land, right? We take care of the earth. We look into cellular earth cosmology that proves that I am the I up there in the center of the world, as above, so below, as within, so without. Within is above, below is without. So the center of the world is the center of me. So inside that center that looks like this pupil, when you look into someone's eyes, you're really looking at nothing. If you look straight into the pupil, right, you're looking at a hole that's bringing in light when you look into someone's soul, right, into the void. So the world is a reflection of us. So how dirty is that reflection right now? As we are still enslaved by this money system, this corrupt, rent-based, your whole life you're basically just renting your space on this earth. Why? Other animals don't pay anything to live. They don't pay rent. They just are. Why are we worse off than animals? We are harvesting our own children. What are we, Kronos? I think that time is done, folks. So put it in your mouths. Edenology, the way of the jungle, or the way of the forest, the spirit of the jungle, the spirit of the forest, and get these, free these freaking kids out of the underground. And you'll come to find that once we do go underground, the wealth issue will be solved, the poverty issue will be solved, the the technology issue will be dissolved. I think it's also a thing like, I think people don't feel like they're worthy to walk this path. People don't feel like they're worthy to actually live in a good world, so they continually live in their unworthy habits. So snap out of the illusions. We are worthy, and we will continually prove that we are worthy when we actually make a change. Not we just talk about concepts and hope things are happening. No more hope. Hope is belief. I don't need belief. I want to know. I want to see. I don't want to believe that one day I will see, or possibly one day I might know. We must go and do it for ourselves. We must go and see it for ourselves. We must plant for ourselves. We must plan for ourselves. And we must illuminate the darkness beneath the earth for ourselves, the mines of Moria, if you will. So, come on a journey with me. Let's get something done. Occupy the Getty. Stephen D. Kelly, look him up. Chop chop.